"Curious what I'm hiding," she whispered. I didn't know how to respond. HFY read it. The Odyssey drifted silently through the Earthru expanse, a region of space painted with swirling clouds of red and violet gas. Captain Elias Vance stood at the observation deck, hands resting lightly on the railing, eyes fixed on the colors stretching across the viewport. No one had charted this place fully before. It was quiet, almost too quiet, but the strange energy readings they had detected earlier were impossible to ignore. "Captain," Lieutenant Aaron said, his voice breaking the silence. "Sensors are picking up an object ahead. It's not registered in any database." It looked old, ancient, and broken in parts. Angular walls jutted at impossible angles and long shadows stretched across its surface. The station was unlike anything humans had built or even imagined. "Prepare an away team," Elias ordered. "We go in cautiously. We do not know what we might find." Mara Lin, the ship's xenobiologist, joined Elias in the shuttle. As the craft moved closer, the station seemed to grow larger, its surface reflecting the nebula's colors like shards of crystal. Elias felt a strange pull toward the station. It was not fear, not exactly, but a mixture of curiosity and unease. There was something almost alive about it. The shuttle docked with the station using a magnetic clamp. The airlock opened with a hiss, and the team stepped into a corridor illuminated by dim, flickering lights. The walls were covered in strange patterns, symbols that shifted subtly as if the structure itself were aware of their presence. "Keep your eyes open," Elias said. "And do not touch anything unless I say so." Lynn asked. Her voice was steady, but curiosity laced every word. The figure's lips curved into a small, almost playful smile. Then she whispered, "Curious what I'm hiding." Something about her presence made the air feel charged, alive. I don't understand," Elias said finally, his voice careful. "What do you mean?" "If you wish to know, follow me." Symbols shifted and glowed faintly, casting light on the group. Dr. Lin reached out to touch one, and it recoiled slightly, almost like a living creature. "What is this place?" she whispered. "I don't know," Elias admitted, "but we will find out." Small machines floated silently, rearranging themselves, scanning the newcomers with unseen sensors. Aaron kept his hand near his sidearm, ready for any threat, but Elias noticed that she did not appear hostile. Finally, they arrived at a large chamber. The ceiling was high, and the walls were lined with strange devices, glowing softly with colors they had no names for. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and on it rested a small cube, shimmering like liquid light. "This," the figure said, her voice calm but firm, "is what I protect. This is knowledge, power, both. It belonged to a species long gone. I am its guardian." He had faced threats, disasters, and conflicts, but this was different. This was a test, though he did not yet understand the rules. "Why show us this?" he asked. "Because you are curious, because you have the courage to step into the unknown. And because perhaps," she paused, a faint smile forming, "humans might succeed where others failed." "Understand it?" he asked. She nodded slightly. "You may, but understand this: power without wisdom is destruction. Knowledge without responsibility is ruin. Are you ready for such a burden?" The figure's eyes seemed to soften. "Then come closer. Learn. But remember, the answers are only as valuable as the choices you make with them." Elias reached out, hesitating for a moment, aware that this small gesture could change everything. He felt the weight of human curiosity, the drive to explore, the courage to face the unknown. And in that moment, he realized that humans had something no extinct species had possessed: resilience, adaptability, and a moral compass that could guide them through the greatest challenges. The figure watched silently, a guardian waiting to see if humans were worthy. And as Elias finally touched the cube, a surge of understanding flowed through him, filling him with knowledge beyond comprehension and a responsibility that weighed more than any starship or weapon ever could. The adventure had begun. After touching the cube, Elias felt a strange warmth spread through his hands and up his arms. The light that seemed to come from the cube did not blind him. Instead, it illuminated understanding in ways he could not immediately describe. The hum of the machines around the chamber became almost musical, resonating with the pulse of life itself. Lyria, the alien guardian, watched silently. Her eyes were calm, yet intense, as if measuring every flicker of thought in Elia's mind. "You are feeling it," she said softly. "The knowledge contained here is not simple data. It is understanding, interwoven with the history of a civilization that reached heights far beyond your current technology." Can we use it?" he asked. "Not yet," she replied. "You must first prove that you can handle it. Knowledge can be dangerous in untrained hands. The species that created this, they were destroyed because they allowed curiosity without wisdom to dominate their choices. But it is more than that. It is a test of character, of morality, of the human spirit. You must show that you can rise above fear, greed, and selfishness. Only then will you be worthy of understanding fully what this technology can do." Even he could not hide the mixture of awe and apprehension in his expression. "Then we accept the test," Elias said. "Whatever it takes, we will show that humans can be trusted with this knowledge." Each symbol seemed to respond to their presence, shifting as if alive. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, stretching wider and taller than any room on the Odyssey. Floating platforms hovered in the air, connected by streams of glowing energy. "This is the simulation chamber," Lyria explained. "Here, you will face scenarios designed to test not only your intellect, but also your judgment and cooperation. You will encounter challenges that will push your understanding, force you to make difficult choices, and reveal the strengths and weaknesses of your species. Some will be simple, some will be complex. Some may appear dangerous, even fatal. But remember, the point is not survival alone. It is how you respond, how you work together, and how you make choices under pressure." They thrived on challenges and faced dangers that would have broken other species. And they had something else, something Lyria had noted with interest: a moral compass, a sense of responsibility. The first scenario began almost immediately. The room dissolved into a holographic simulation of a collapsing star system. Planets spun wildly, debris hurtled through space, and the gravitational pull of a dying star threatened to crush everything in its path. "You must stabilize the system," Lyria said. "Work together. Only then will you proceed. I'll coordinate the sequence." Unexpected gravitational waves twisted their efforts, threatening to undo everything they had corrected. Panic flickered in one of the junior officers, and Elias acted immediately. "Focus. Breathe. Remember your calculations and trust each other." Instead of fighting the forces of gravity, they used them, redirecting energy streams and using the debris as stabilizers. Slowly, the planets aligned and the system stabilized. The chamber's holographic projections faded, replaced by the calm glow of the room. "You have succeeded in the first test," Lyria said, "but the trials will become harder. Then we are ready for the next challenge. Your choices affect not only yourselves, but the lives of others." Aaron worked to stabilize failing energy grids, preventing citywide destruction. Elias coordinated diplomacy, negotiating between factions that had long-standing conflicts. It was a test not of strength, but of empathy, judgment, and cooperation. Every decision mattered. Every choice revealed something about the humans who faced it. Hours passed, though it felt like moments. The simulation pushed them to exhaustion, mentally and emotionally. But slowly they began to see the results. A city saved, conflicts resolved peacefully, lives preserved. "You are learning," Lyria said, "but there is one final trial." This time they were in a vast void, surrounded by floating remnants of civilizations, both alien and human. It was silent except for a single voice. "Prove that you can sacrifice for the greater good. Prove that you can rise above fear and selfishness." He realized that this trial was not about their skills or intellect alone, it was about their humanity. A scenario unfolded before him, a simulation of a planet threatened by a massive energy surge. The only way to save the inhabitants was to risk the lives of the crew. Panic surged in some, but Elia's voice remained steady. "We save them," he said firmly. "Even if it costs us." At the end of the trial, the void dissolved, leaving them back in the chamber with Lyria. She studied them silently, her eyes reflecting approval. "You have shown wisdom, courage, and compassion. You have faced fear and uncertainty without abandoning your moral compass. You are ready." The cube, the technology, the knowledge, they were powerful tools capable of shaping worlds. It was not enough to understand it, they had to wield it responsibly. Lyria moved toward the pedestal. "The knowledge is now yours to study. Use it to grow, to learn, and to help your people. But remember, power without wisdom is still dangerous. You must remain vigilant." Knowledge flowed into him, not as instructions, but as understanding. He saw principles of energy manipulation, advanced technology, and strategies for survival that no human had ever known. Yet alongside this power came clarity, wisdom, restraint, and the responsibility that humans must carry. As the team left the chamber, Elias looked at Lyria. "Thank you," he said, "for trusting us." Elias knew that this was only the beginning. The knowledge they had gained could help humanity thrive, or, if misused, could destroy everything they had built. But he also knew that humans had something no extinct species had: courage, curiosity, morality, and the ability to rise above fear. And in that he felt hope. The Odyssey hummed quietly in orbit above the Earthru expanse, its sensors still attuned to the subtle energies of the alien station. Elias Vance stood at the observation deck, staring at the swirling nebula below. He felt a weight on his shoulders, a responsibility unlike any he had faced before. The knowledge they had gained from the cube was immense, and yet it demanded careful thought, patience, and wisdom. "We need to understand it before we can use it," Elias said, turning to his crew. "Not just the technology, but the principles behind it. We can't rush this. Some of what we saw in the simulation, it's beyond anything we've dealt with. One wrong move and it could be catastrophic. This could change everything for humanity. We explore the principles, learn the mechanics, and see what we can safely replicate. Nothing risky until we understand it fully." Elias felt the same warmth as before when he touched it, but now he approached it with intention rather than curiosity. Lyria observed silently. "You are cautious. That is good. Curiosity is necessary, but restraint is what separates those who succeed from those who fail. No assumptions." The light shifted in response to her presence. "It reacts to us," she said, "not just physically but emotionally. Our intentions, they influence it. If it responds to intent, then misuse could have consequences beyond comprehension." Every experiment was carefully monitored and every failure became a lesson. One evening, as Elias observed Mara working, he felt a sudden shift in the room's energy. The cube's light pulsed rapidly, and a holographic projection appeared above it. A star map of the galaxy emerged, dotted with symbols and lines connecting distant systems. "It's showing us routes, pathways," Mara whispered. "Travel routes, maybe, or locations of other advanced technology." The cube was not just a tool of energy, it was a guide, a repository of the wisdom of an entire species that had risen to great heights and fallen. Humanity now had access not only to technology but to understanding. But with understanding came the need for careful decision-making. The next test came unexpectedly. While exploring a section of the station, they discovered a sealed chamber larger than any they had seen before. Its entrance was blocked by a shimmering barrier of energy. The cube responded, pulsing brightly. "What is it?" Aaron asked, stepping closer. "The final trial," Lyria said. Her tone was calm but serious. "This chamber holds the culmination of what your species must understand. To enter, you must demonstrate your ability to act with wisdom, compassion, and courage under pressure. Images appeared, visions of worlds in crisis, civilizations on the brink of collapse. Some were alien, some human. Each scenario required immediate decisions: whom to save, how to act, what to sacrifice. Elias realized the test was not just a simulation. The cube projected the possible outcomes of choices, forcing them to confront moral dilemmas. One decision could save a planet but doom another. One action could secure resources but endanger lives. The crew discussed, debated, and argued, but ultimately they relied on cooperation. Elias took the lead, guiding the team to consider consequences beyond immediate benefit. Aaron used his analytical mind to calculate outcomes. Mara focused on the needs of individuals, and together they found solutions that minimized harm while maximizing good. Hours passed as they navigated the test. At one point, Elias had to make a split-second decision: divert energy to save a city in danger, knowing it might destabilize another nearby. Trusting his instincts and the team, he acted. The cube pulsed brightly, acknowledging the choice. When the trial ended, the barrier dissipated, revealing the chamber beyond. It was filled with devices and instruments of incredible complexity, along with libraries of information. The cube hovered above, radiating calm, steady light. "You have succeeded," Lyria said. "You have proven that your species can wield knowledge responsibly, with courage, empathy, and foresight. The final chamber is now open to you." They had to learn, understand, and integrate it into human society carefully, ensuring it was used for growth, protection, and exploration, not conquest or greed. As the crew explored, Lyria observed quietly. "You have learned the first lesson," she said to Elias. "That power is measured not by what you can do, but by what you choose not to do. That restraint, judgment, and cooperation are the true marks of a species worthy of advancement. There will be dangers, tests, and choices that will strain your species. But remember this: humans are remarkable not for their strength alone, but for their curiosity, their courage, and their ability to act rightly in the face of uncertainty." Humanity had proven it could rise above fear and greed. They had shown ingenuity, compassion, and resilience, the very qualities that had allowed them to survive and thrive against impossible odds. Outside the station, the earthly expanse stretched endlessly, a reminder of how much remained unknown. But Elias felt hope. Humanity was not perfect, but they were capable of greatness. And now, with knowledge, wisdom, and the guidance of those who had come before, they could step into a future that was once unimaginable. The cube pulsed softly, as if acknowledging the human spirit itself. Elias reached out once more, feeling the energy flow into him and his team. Knowledge was not power unless paired with judgment. Understanding was not complete without compassion. And now humans had both. As they prepared to return to the Odyssey, Elias reflected on Lyria's words and the trials they had faced. Humanity had been tested, and they had risen. They had not only survived but had proven themselves worthy of the trust placed in them. The journey ahead would be long, filled with challenges, discoveries, and choices that would define their species. But Elias knew one thing for certain: humanity had shown that they were more than explorers. They were thinkers, problem solvers, and caretakers, capable of greatness when guided by wisdom and courage. And in that, the future felt brighter than any star in the expanse. The Odyssey left the station behind, gliding silently through the earthly expanse. Elias Vance stood on the bridge, staring out at the swirling colors of the nebula. It was breathtaking, yet he felt the weight of responsibility pressing upon him more than ever. The knowledge they had gained from Lyria and the cube was immense. Humanity had been given a gift, but with it came choices that could shape the future. "Captain," Aaron said, breaking the silence, "we've documented everything we can. The data is staggering. This could accelerate human technology by decades, maybe even centuries. Renewable energy solutions, advanced propulsion systems, medical technologies. We could save millions of lives with what we've learned." We have to teach, guide, and plan. Several days later, the Odyssey returned to Earth. The planet was teeming with life, conflict, and progress, yet fragile in many ways. Elias knew that humanity had the potential to reach the stars, but only if they used their gifts wisely. Upon arrival, they were greeted by the scientific council, political leaders, and an eager public. News of the expedition had spread, though the full details remained confidential. The council awaited a report, expecting groundbreaking discoveries, and they would not be disappointed. Elias addressed the assembly. We have discovered technology far beyond our current understanding, left behind by a species that achieved great heights before vanishing. The knowledge we bring back is powerful, but it is only meaningful if used responsibly. Humanity must rise to the challenge, not through conquest or greed, but through cooperation, wisdom, and ethical decision-making. Then applause broke out, not just for the discoveries, but for the message they carried. That humans were capable of rising above fear and selfishness, capable of greatness when guided by conscience. Over the following months, Elias and his team worked with top scientists and engineers to study the alien technology carefully. Small experiments were conducted, first with simulations, then with controlled, low-risk applications. Each step was documented, reviewed, and debated. Mistakes were corrected quickly, and successes were carefully celebrated. Mara led the development of medical applications. Using principles gleaned from the cube, she helped design devices capable of repairing tissue at the cellular level. Diseases that had long plagued humanity could now be treated more efficiently, and countless lives were saved. Aaron focused on energy systems. The team created reactors that were both powerful and sustainable, capable of providing clean energy without environmental harm. Entire cities could now thrive without pollution or scarcity, demonstrating humanity's ability to use advanced knowledge responsibly. Elias oversaw integration, ensuring that every advancement aligned with ethical standards. He reminded everyone, including leaders and scientists, that power without wisdom could destroy more than it created. We have been entrusted with this knowledge, he said. Not to dominate, but to protect and improve. That is what makes us human. Education systems incorporated ethical training alongside scientific study. Decision-making bodies emphasized cooperation and foresight. The public became aware of humanity's potential to rise above self-interest and embrace responsibility on a global scale. Elias watched all this with cautious pride. Humans were learning not just technology but the lessons of restraint, collaboration, and foresight. They had been tested, and they were proving themselves worthy of the trust placed in them. One evening, Elias returned to the observation deck of the Odyssey. The nebula stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, colors dancing like a living tapestry. He felt a presence beside him and turned to see Lyria. "You have done well," she said softly. "Your species has shown that it can rise above fear, greed, and short-sightedness. You have proven that you are capable of greatness, not through power but through choice." It was about learning who we are and who we can become. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, armed not only with knowledge but with the wisdom to use it. The cube had shown them what they could achieve, but humans themselves had proven it. The next day, the Council approved the creation of the Human Advancement Initiative, a program dedicated to ethical exploration, scientific innovation, and responsible stewardship of knowledge. Elias and his team were appointed as advisors, their experience guiding the new era. As the program expanded, humanity began to reach further into the stars. New colonies thrived, powered by safe and sustainable technologies derived from the cube. Conflicts over resources declined, as energy and material needs could now be met efficiently. Humanity was learning to cooperate not just with itself, but with the universe it was entering. Elias often reflected on the moment when Lyria had whispered, "Curious what I'm hiding." He had been unsure how to respond then, caught between fear and fascination. Now he understood. Lyria's question had not been about the technology, it had been about humanity itself. Could humans rise to the occasion? Could they act with courage, wisdom, and compassion? They had. Years later, Elia stood once more in the Earthru expanse, aboard a new generation starship. The nebula had become familiar, no longer a place of mystery, but a symbol of the potential that lay ahead. Humanity had entered a new era, not because of the alien technology alone, but because of their choices. Humans were explorers, thinkers, and caretakers. They had faced tests, conquered fear, and embraced responsibility. And in doing so, they had shown the universe that they were capable of greatness, not through domination, but through understanding, courage, and morality. As the Odyssey, or its successor, the Aurora, moved forward into uncharted space, Elia smiled. The stars stretched endlessly before them, full of mystery, challenge, and opportunity. And humans were ready. The future was theirs to shape, not with recklessness or pride, but with wisdom, bravery, and a deep respect for life itself. And in that, the legacy of humanity had truly begun.